aside from the price of a cigar, if someone laid out 5 cigars right in front of you right now with no price tags, is there a way for me to tell which one's expensive, which one's not expensive?
Simsation Nation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Simsation Nation. If this is your first time, we welcome you to just kind of have a conversation with us. I am super excited. As you can see, I am wearing my smoking jacket today. I got my cigar lounge candle in the background, primarily because where I'm located, it's cold outside, and I couldn't go outside and actually smoke a cigar virtually with my good friend that I'm about to introduce here in a second. The sensational subject that we're talking about today is something that I enjoy from time to time, is smoking a cigar. And I want to just say before I introduce him, I am not condoning, neither of us is condoning going out to smoke cigars or anything like that. Everyone has their vices. Everyone has their things that they just enjoy from time to time that makes them them. So as with all things in moderation. Do so safely, do so at your will, work hard, play harder, but just be careful out there. So once again, we're not condoning smoking. This is just something that the two of us share, and we have a commonality with just having a good cigar from time to time. So without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend and my guest today to talk about the subject of cigars. Welcome to the show, Q Everage. Q, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. It's a blast to be here.
How's it going? So you're coming to us all the way from beautiful Texas, right?
Yep. Texas, San Antonio, Texas, the home of Cyberland. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's what I'm talking about. And so I have sat there on that front porch with him, doing some cigar smoking and just having some good old conversation. And I got to tell you, it is very hard to find someone who has as much knowledge, or at least has a large collection of cigars more than you. So I wanted to bring you on and to really just kind of talk about cigars. So, and although I can't smoke with you, I'm going to reach back here and I'll talk about the humidor and all that stuff in a minute. But if I would have been able to go outside and smoke, I would have smoked this cigar that my wife bought me for Valentine's Day. And this cigar is a Punch 1840. It looks like it's a rare Corojo, and it is handmade from Honduras. So if I was gonna smoke, obviously I'm not gonna smoke in the house. This is the cigar that I would have been smoking. So what are you gonna be smoking on?
So I hadn't quite made up my mind. As I was telling you offline, I love cigars, and used to be about a one time a week thing. I slowed down over time to like once a month. Just got busy, and then just trying to stay healthy. I cut down to one every so often. So when I do smoke one, it's a very special occasion. So because I couldn't make up my mind, I brought out a bunch. I'll start off with my go-to favorite. So part of my logic would be, I don't smoke one. I smoke one rarely. I want to pick something that I know I'm not going to be disappointed. I've never lit this cigar and finished and didn't have a great time. And it's the Oliva V cigar. It's a Habano cigar. It is full body, full flavor, but it doesn't hit you like a full body, full flavor cigar. It hits you a little bit more mild, but it has all the flavor that comes with the full favorite tobacco or the Habano leaf, all that good stuff. So I could go with this. This would be the safe bet, but I do a lot of like Cigar of the Month Club type stuff, and I get random cigars. So it's going safe bet or going with some of my other favorites, like a more expensive one that, since it's become more of a special occasion thing, would be anything in the Davidoff line. This is a Davidoff Colorado Clara. It's a lighter Davidoff, but Davidoffs are light in nicotine, so I hadn't had one in a while. They're light in nicotine, so it won't hit me. I won't feel that nicotine rush because of my body composition of being a little light. I can feel that nicotine rush. I won't feel that, but I'll get all the flavor and have a really bespoke smoke. So a couple of those as options. And then a room 101 12th edition. I get a cigar of the month club. They threw this in here. And
Okay.
tell you the truth, me and Google will figure out what this is about. But if they sent it to me, it's probably good. They haven't sent me anything that's not amazing. So that's just kind of like roll the dice. So I am still making up my mind. But I would ask you, what do you say? Random, light and easy, or go with what I know?
Hey, listen. So I'm glad that you're kicking it my way to make the decision, right? Because number one, it's always great to have options. That's with anything in life. It's always great to have options. And as I listened to you walk through each one of those cigars, I was kind of in my mind going, "Oh man, which one should he do?" And one of the first things that popped into my mind, at least not yet, because words are powerful. I was going to say, Simsation Nation is not quite at the status left to do the special occasion cigar yet. You know, maybe one day when we get a few more subscribers and viewers. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna X that one now. I want you to save that one for a real special occasion. And so I am also a fan of the Oliva. That's how you pronounce it, I think, right? I would tell you to go with the safe bet on that one.
Boom. I know I'm not going to be disappointed. In particular, this one's a Lancero, so it's a skinny, long cigar. It brings up a point. You'll see people with the big stogies, the really fat ones, and that's the thing. But I equate it to a steak, or I equate it to a steak. Like the filler is the fat in the steak, and it adds the flavor. You know, you got the seasons, you got the side items. That's the filler. The wrapper is the steak. This gives you more steak than anything else, but people don't think about that. They think the bigger, the better. And it is if you like side items, if you like mashed potatoes, gravy, green bean, get the fat cigar. But if you want to taste the leaf, go with a skinny cigar. So good pick.
Wow,
So
I have not heard that analogy before. That's a good way to actually, kind of consider your cigars. And kind of on a different episode I did with regard to whiskey, one of the pieces of advice that we concluded with was like, hey, well, what kind do you like? Well, whatever kind you like, And so there's a lot of options out there, a lot of choices, and I think you have to try certain things. So while you're getting ready to smoke your cigar, I wanted to ask you, how did you start to develop your love and passion for just cigars as a whole?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you want the full story. You want me to go back to maybe Airman Q, Hood Rat Q, want to become an officer Q? You want me to start at just officer Q? I'll give you a choice.
I was gonna say I want to know the Hood Rat portion. So I feel like you gotta sprinkle that in there somehow.
Oh, yeah. So hey, look, in the dorms, I didn't start drinking actually until I'm 21. I was 21. I'm not saying that because we're being recorded. I just honestly didn't really see the purpose in it. But around 21, I started to drink and have the Hennessy and Coke with my friends, and that was an event. It was the times, right? And then they would pull out the Black and Milds. I didn't want to mess with a cigarette because my dad smoked cigarettes. So the first cigar I smoked was a Black and Mild. And that was a thing that I did for a period of time. But it was super, like, just random. It was just something to do when we were drinking with my boys. We were playing cards or whatever. So that's my first experience with cigars. One of the things my father, God rest his soul, always told me is if you want to be something, start to act like it, or start to carry yourself in that way. Start to imagine yourself in that position, or do things that the person in that position does, so that way you can feel it. So that way when it comes true, or it's not foreign to you. So I was watching some World War II movie where someone was playing Eisenhower and Winchester, not Winchester, Winston Churchill, excuse me. We're sitting there having a discussion, and they had their whiskey and their cigars. 4-star general and leader of England during World War II, and I saw it, and in my mind, I was like, okay, I need to learn how to drink whiskey, and I need to learn how to smoke cigars.
There you go.
And it was that, yeah. And what was really dope was I just had that in the back of my mind. I was going to go learn about it. And I went to probably the first cigar place I can find. It wasn't anything special, no recommendation. It was on the street near my base, and I went. It was owned by a retired lieutenant colonel. So talking about affirmation of, okay, so now the lieutenant colonel.
That's a sign. That's a sign.
Yes, a sign. Yeah. So he sat down and had a really good conversation with me about going to ROTC and about cigars. And that's really what started it. I'm pretty sure you're going to ask me what continued it, but that's what started it.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
started to learn a little bit more about whiskey and started to learn more about cigars and moved from Black and Milds to I think a Macanudo. I had the spectrum, a Macanudo on one end, which is probably one of the lightest, lower flavored cigars you can smoke. You even can get them from CVS, but he had a brand that was maybe a little bit better than the one in CVS. I was
Okay.
still a Sierraman, so I wasn't spending too much money. And then he gave me a Padron, which is a more full cigar. Again, not expensive, but really full on flavor. We talked about having a nicotine buzz, so that one hit me on that end
Yeah,
because I was
yeah.
slender and a lot of nicotine. So, and just kind of went from there, learning more and more each time. Every month or so when I went back to go buy a cigar. So
Nice. Nice. And it sounds like
yeah.
it's something that you've been able to manage very well and just having an extra hobby. And I'm looking at the tools that you have in your hand. And so something that, people kind of often try to figure out, and I've got plenty of stories, but for when I, started smoking cigars, I also started with the Black and Milds. I am very glad that I never did cigarettes. Very happy. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
But I was a Black and Mild chain smoker in my very, very early years, and taking out the
Marine
tobacco.
Corps, right?
Yeah, Marine Corps. Taking out the tobacco and the filter and putting the tobacco back in. And I've been through that phase. And so I thought I was doing something big time. But ultimately, though, I got to the point where I started hanging around folks that were at a status that I aspired to be at. And so I saw folks doing cigars, but I never really kind of asked them about it. But I can remember my first embarrassing moment when I thought that I was big time. And I didn't know anything, which we'll get into here in a bit. I didn't know anything about storing cigars and, keeping them moist and controlling the humidity and all that stuff. And my wife and I were on a cruise, and I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to smoke a cigar on the cruise. My wife, she was like, yeah, this is going to be good for you. It's going to be good for you. So I hadn't been on that cruise ship very long at all. And I found the smoking section right away, and I wanted to get my picture and look big time. And I was trying to, I had this cigar, man, and I kept trying to light this cigar. And every time I would light it, it started flaking up, and it just the little particles just started flying all over the place. And I just saw this one guy across the way kind of staring at me. He was like, hey, you might need to start taking care of your cigars, And I was like, okay, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but that was one of my most embarrassing times. And I said, at that point, I need to just learn and get the education. And so you get to the point where you have to figure out, do I want to use a punch? Do I want to clip the ends? So what do you prefer? What do you recommend?
I recommend what the person prefers. So it depends on the pace that you smoke. So I am a slow smoker. So for instance, with a punch, I'm not pulling very often. If I don't pull enough oxygen through it to keep it, or not oxygen, oxygen through it to keep it lit, it's going to go out. So a punch for me, because I'm a slower smoker, I'm usually reading or mostly reading a lot of times when smoking a cigar or talking to a friend or whatever to go out on me. Then once it goes out and you light it, you start to get the tar on the cigar, and it's not a pleasant experience. So long story short, I cut for that reason. And it's just because I'm a slower smoker. We can talk about humidity in a bit, but also how you store your cigars is based upon how you smoke. If you puff faster, you maybe want a higher humidity in your case. If you puff slower, like me, you probably want it a little drier so to stay lit. So the cut, the punch is all based upon your flavor. The punch also focuses the flavor when you take the draw. So if it's your preference, you need that on the center of your tongue so you can really appreciate the nuance of the cigar. It's a preference thing. But my preference for me as a slower smoker is to cut it. Anything to help keep it lit, because I really don't want to go back and relight the cigar once I get going.
I see. Well, I'm going to allow you to cut and light up and everything, but I'm going to kind of transition us to another question that I'm curious about too, because this is a problem, for lack of better words, that I have. Now, while I do enjoy having a smoke every now and then. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even think it's once a month. Like, matter of fact, it may not even be every 2 months. It's just every now and then, if I want to celebrate something, or if I want to sit outside or sit on my back porch and just, just kind of have a cigar and just kind of relax a little bit. And so ultimately, it's all things, again, in moderation. But when I'm done, like I'm in that moment, I'm enjoying that moment. But later that evening, when I'm done, first thing my wife makes me do, of course, is take my clothes, throw them straight into the washer to get the smoke out. So I'm always making sure I wear something that I don't care too much about. But the other aspect that I always have to try to work through is that aftertaste. Like, I'm like, man, I just got to get this aftertaste of smoke out of my mouth. Is that something that is just like, obviously a smoke, right? I mean, is that just a unavoidable type of thing?
I think it is. And honestly, I think you get used to it over time because like the whole fuzzy mouth thing, I don't feel anymore. But like you, even to this day, I'll go brush my teeth. I'll take a shower to kind of rinse my sinuses out, breathe the steam, and then of course wash my clothes. So I still do those things, but I remember that cotton mouth. I don't get the cotton mouth anymore. I just think
Right.
I've become used to it over the years. But there's a lot of tricks to deal with it. Whether it's gargling a little peroxide to kind of clear your palate, then gargling some water and just clearing your mouth out. But definitely brushing your teeth, brushing your tongue, sides of your cheeks, getting the whole mouth, because that smoke is permeating everything. And then you'll always have that little bit of, I know I smoked a cigar. So, if you want to care about your breath, you might keep a mint with you.
Right. Right.
That especially that next day. So
That's the term I think I was trying to think of, was the cottonmouth aspect of it. And, initially when I first had that, I was like, I don't really enjoy this. But, as you mentioned, I hadn't heard some of the tips you just gave, but, just the rinse or cleaning your sinuses out with the shower. I think all that stuff will certainly help. And so ultimately, as you can see, I have a little drink because I recently recorded a whiskey episode because that's another passion of mine, just kind of enjoying and tasting whiskey from time to time. When you smoke your cigar on a typical occasion, do you normally sip on a whiskey or something to go along with it? And are there some better pairings than others?
So the whiskey is gonna like pairing wine with your food or wine even with a cigar, all of it works. Pairing is just matching a flavor that's not competing, but complementary, and it's based upon your preference. So like with this Oliva V, it has a very the flavor is easy to pick up with it for me. So I can go a stronger whiskey, I can go a lighter whiskey, I can go a red wine. I probably wouldn't do a white wine because they're not complementary for me. But it just kind of depends on the person, the individual, and I can make some. I typically will make some suggestions to my friends based upon the kind of foods I know they like, or I ask them like, "Hey, what's your favorite food? What do you like? What do you like about that food?" And that will help trigger my brain to something I've tasted in a different libation, and I'll be like, "Hey, this goes with this."
Nice, very nice.
Even sometimes mixed drinks, like there's a cigar in one of my favorite cigars. It's in Vegas at the Caesar. It's at the Arturo Fiente Cigar Lounge. They only have a couple across the U.S., but one of them is in Caesar's Palace. I think it's Caesar's Palace. And they got this cigar called the Casa Fiente. They only sell it in the Casa Fiente. That's the name of the cigar lounge. But they pair that cigar with a mojito that they've made to like match.
No
perfect.
kidding. Wow.
And there's my wife's been talking about us going to Vegas because she heard me talk about that pairing over and over again. And we hadn't made it, but every time we talk about Vegas, she's like, you're gonna get your cigar and your mojito. So I say that to say some pairings are even designed to go together, but it's really all about personal preference.
Okay, I like that. And so you're right. There's a lot of wine pairings with food and things of that sort. Now, I also have to ask, and I know this is going to sound like such a rhetorical question, but I like hearing different perspectives on it, which is why I ask questions like these. And to a certain extent, it's almost like a no-brainer. But when someone were to ask, like, how does smoking cigars make you feel? Like, what does it do for you? Does it just relax your mind? Like, what kind of positive impact do you get from it?
I'm probably sitting down. I'm probably focusing a bit on the cigar. I mentioned reading earlier. So I'm focused on something. So that means the things on my left and right, thinking I got to do this chore or I have this thing to do at work, or I'm probably not thinking about that. There's other things that can do that. Sometimes I'll play video games to kind of distract myself for a period of time from the things so I can recharge. So it gives me that focus on something that's not the daily grind. And I get to recover from that. The searching for the nuance in the different in various cigars. Like this one I know, so I'm not. This is actually a really good pick because I can have a conversation and I'm not distracted, but I'm enjoying it, right?
Good.
Because I know what I'm looking for. But sometimes it's the stick, and I'm just trying to figure out the nuance. And I'm sitting there, I'll grab my phone. For instance, I mentioned the 12th anniversary Room 101. I don't know a ton about it. I just know it's a good cigar. So I probably would read a couple articles on it. So I'll be like, do I taste this? Do I taste this? So again, distraction. So mentally, it gives me a break. You're taking when you smoke a cigar, the recommended regimen is 2 throwaway puffs, 1 puff to hold, you taste and you blow out. That's a breathing exercise. So I'm doing breathing and calming everything down. So I'm chill because of that. And I'm typically outside. I'm not the biggest outdoorsy person, but you can appreciate being outside and just that. So it's the ambiance, it's the sitting down, it's being distracted from the worries of the world. And then better yet is when you're having it with a friend like we are right now, it's the conversation. It's just a blast to have and spend time just chilling in that way.
Oh man, you're making me relax just listening to you talk about it. That's kind of cool. I'm kind of living through you right now. And so you mentioned about the 1 puff to hold, and right, I know there's maybe we can call it a technique, or it's whatever floats your boat. But talk to me from your perspective about the whole inhale versus don't inhale.
Never inhale a cigar. It's not it's not meant to be inhaled. There may be some people on the cusp of smoking cigars that will do that, but this is not even compared to a cigarette. It's not filtered. It's a lot of tobacco, and the nicotine is not even comparable to a cigarette. It's multifold, so it's a lot. So you don't want it in your lungs. You're gonna cough your butt off. When you hold it, you're holding it in your mouth, so that way you can taste it across your palate. Not through the whole cigar, but about 3 to 4 times. When you get the right smoke and you taste it, you'll let it through your nose. The reason you're doing that is because you're activating that sense, the smell, to go with the sense of taste, so you can know what nuances you're getting out of the cigar. But no inhale. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's educate the people out there, because we're trying to make sure that we're not encouraging, but for those that may be doing it and trying to learn how to do it and do it correctly, make sure that you're not inhaling that smoke. It's definitely not good for your lungs by any means. So now, when it comes to cigars, I'll compare it to like shoes. I did an episode very recently, and we talked about Jordans, and someone was a sneakerhead. Spanky Snyder talked to me about all of his Jordan collections, and I'm like, hey, how do you tell the real one versus the fake one? And boom, he's like, sometimes you can tell by the smell, the weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So aside from the price of a cigar, if someone laid out 5 cigars right in front of you right now with no price tags, is there a way for me to tell which one's expensive, which one's not expensive?
That's probably expertise that I don't possess, but I'll tell you what I know. I can talk fake versus real, but we'll start off by just looking at the cigar. When you look at it, the type of tobacco can be rough, it can be smooth, and that doesn't prove that one is cheap and one is expensive. But generally speaking, the more expensive one is going to be rolled. It's going to have a smoother appearance. It's going to be less blotchy. And it's a leaf, and the leaf had seams before they rolled the seams out of it. So the tobacco has to be sturdy for them to be able to do that. It has to be a higher quality tobacco. So those kind of things can kind of help you see the blotches when it's put together. I don't know if it'd be hard for you to see it here, but like this Oliva V isn't a very expensive cigar, but it's a very high quality made cigar. So even compared to some of the most expensive ones, the way they put the cap on it, the way they roll it, the way that it burns razor sharp. And this is Lancero, and Lanceros are known for going wavy. No, Lancero doesn't even go wavy. There's things about it in appearance, you can tell, but then there's the things about it in smoke. and in touch. So when you smoke it, is it giving you a large volume of smoke with flavor, or is it burning crooked when you light it? All those things, and then touch, feel. If it's spongy, it's probably they didn't fill it with tobacco, so maybe it's not an expensive cigar. I haven't had a expensive cigar that's not filled with tobacco and it's not tightly packed. I personally haven't. Some expert is going to come up here and say, come on and say, yeah, the $1,000 X is spongy because they did it on purpose. I don't know, but generally speaking, the touch. So look, touch without smoking it. Once you smoke it, you will definitely know. Whether you're getting tar, bitter taste. Cigars shouldn't, if you smoke them right, shouldn't do that. But some of them will. Some of them you can't keep lit. That's a byproduct of how it's rolled and how it's made. So that definitely would tell you. But I'm pretty sure there's some other ways. So to tell. But fake versus counterfeit, it's just kind of knowing the branding of the cigar you're smoking. Like Cubans are often counterfeited, but there's nuances on the label. And you go see Dr. Google, you do your research before you go on your cruise and go get the Cubans that are offered to you, and you make sure you know the nuances. Make sure you look at the wrapping on the box, make sure it's a reputable shop. And you can still be food, but you can at least put your best foot forward and make sure that you're getting the real deal.
Okay.
They don't typically counterfeit the cigars we can buy here. They're in such abundance. I don't perceive there's a profit. I'm pretty sure there's some outliers. So if you go to your local cigar shop, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, they're real, probably 9.75. But when you're on the cruise and right where the tourists are, yeah, they might want to make a couple bucks off of you, like with everything else, whether it's the watch or the cigar or whatever. So you just got to do your research and kind of know.
So not as much of a concern domestically, but internationally, probably something you need to probably do your research on and kind of be mindful of. Now, you mentioned profits, and that brings my mind frame to talking about money. And Melissa is probably going to watch this at some point in time, so I'll give you some time to think about it. Yeah. What is the most amount you think you've ever paid for a cigar?
It probably would have been with Melissa at a cigar lounge, because you're paying the markup. We used to go to some places when we were in DC together. And it wouldn't have been because the cigar was worth it, but probably $45 or $50 it would have been for the ambiance. But going to a shop and buying a cigar that I know I'm paying the right price. Davidoffs roll anywhere from $20 to $25, and they're worth every penny to me, because it's just a total, like, and the event is just an event. It's light. It's like drinking that's a cigar that goes with white wine. It tells you how delicate it is, but it's just a really good experience. And then there's some that I own because other people like them, and I typically will buy them and give them away. And it will be like the Arturo Fiente, again, that brand, that Opus X, which is they have this rare rosada leaf that they grow on their farm in the Dominican Republic, and it's a hybrid that they created. So that's one of the reasons it's experience. And they fill that joker full of Ligero, so you're getting that prime top level leaf. Ligero, please don't quiz me, but Ligero is the top of the tobacco leaf as it's sitting in the sun. So it has the most nicotine, the most nutrients. Then there's the next level, and there's the bottom level. The bottom level is typically your filler, what they put in there to keep it lit. The middle, it starts with a V. I'm not remembering the name. That's your mid tier, but that Ligero is really, really strong. So it's packed with that, and it's a good cigar. But we talked about the nicotine buzz. I'm not about that life. I'm a little heavier than I normally am, but I'm usually sub 200 pounds, and with a little bit more muscle, and I can't take it. My cousin, on the other hand, 6'7", a solid 240, 250. Like, everything he smokes is full of Ligero, and he laughs at me for smoking cigars for the last 20 years and still don't want to smoke something like that. But, yeah.
You just blew my mind with the no. You answered in a way, because you blew my mind, honestly. With the way that you said that the top of the leaves and the middle of the leaves and the bottom, that just blew my mind. But it also sounds to me though that when you're paying for a cigar, you're not necessarily just sometimes paying for the cigar itself. It's about the ambiance and everything that comes along
Mm-hmm.
with it, right? And same
Yeah.
thing for like we can go buy a cocktail, and it's
Mm-hmm.
super expensive at a bar, but you would love to have that drink at that bar. You could probably have that
Mm-hmm.
same bottle of that same thing at home, for the same price,
Yeah.
but it's the experience. So let me ask you, I think you kind of hinted towards this already, and it sounded like not very frequent at all. So it's kind of a double question. How often would you say you have a cigar? And when you do, how many? I've seen your cigar stash there.
Mm-hmm.
How many cigars would you say that you have in your possession right now?
I have somewhere around 500 and 600 cigars. That's
Wow.
because I like I like looking for them and I like trying different ones. And I'm a bargain shopper, so I got different places I shop at, and per cigar it's cheaper to buy the box or buy the tin or whatever. So sometimes I'll do that, but I don't smoke them very often. Even when I
Okay.
was smoking a ton, it was one a week. Just one a week. There's been times when I was in school a couple of years ago that maybe I was doing writing a paper and sitting down doing my reading before writing a paper. I might smoke a couple that week. Um, but because of the how often I smoke them versus how often I used to buy them, even until a year ago, like just every other month I was buying something even though I wasn't smoking it. Um, so that's why I have so many. But now, I don't smoke. Even for years, I didn't. If I when I lived up north like you, I didn't
Mm.
smoke them in the winter times. I'm not that serious.
Right. Right.
And then and at one point, when I was doing my CSSP, my Certified Information Security Systems Professional certificate, um, Information Systems Security Professional. I'm sorry. When I was doing that, I was studying every day, and I was in a garage, and my wife had set the garage up with a couch because we couldn't fit in a car in it. It was a one-car garage, had
Mm.
shelves. A car couldn't fit in there, so I might have smoked one as many as 2 to 3 a week during that 6 to 7 week sprint where I was studying my butt off for
Right.
that certificate. So, but generally speaking, once now anymore, once a month, or less than that, once every other month. Yeah, I'm getting older. We got a son on the way, so
Oh yeah.
I
Congratulations.
enjoy this. Oh, thank you. I enjoy this, but it's just about managing health and all that stuff. So
That's right. That's right.
once every other month. Yeah.
I'm glad you're talking about the health because I want to kind of keep reiterating that theme just throughout this podcast, right? Health is certainly important and we got to be mindful. There's no different than in enjoying beer and wine or sugar or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. Again, all things in
Mm-hmm.
moderation for sure. You mentioned before, hence my amazing smoking jacket that I've worn in a cigar lounge before. I've got my cigar lounge candle burning back here to give me the ambiance because it's too cold outside to actually go smoke one. And it sounds to me that you and your wife have enjoyed going to a cigar lounge together before. What's that
Mm-hmm.
environment like? What's it like being in a cigar lounge?
Different levels, right? So I'll just talk. I'll talk a couple locations. So there was a place not advertising, named Zelda Cigar in Montgomery, Alabama. But you were going there and you didn't. It's a regular cigar shop with a couple couches and a TV. The game might be on. Typically some sporting event. They didn't even sell liquor there at that time. I believe they do now. And you just sit there and same people will come in, new people will come in, and it's just really the discussion about a whole lot about nothing but about something. It's typically a meaningful discussion. So I don't know if people like to talk politics. I don't talk them at work, but you could talk it in the cigar lounge, right? You can talk your favorite football team. I'm a Bengals fan, so for many of those years, I was getting it handed to me, right? I was getting it handed to me and defending my team
Not
as
not
far
not
as
not not so
long.
much. Not so much now. You don't have to defend as much now.
Yeah. No, no, not at all. But so things like that. So that one was just really like hanging out with your boys. But what was dope about that one? A political campaign manager came in one day. You never know who you run into. We were having a discussion. He was like, "Would you ever think about running for office? I can get you elected." That's the cigar lounge conversation for you. That is the
Wow.
epitome of it, right?
Wow.
So, and our political philosophy didn't even align. He's like, "I don't
Wow.
care. I can get you elected."
Wow.
So like that can happen. And then kind of in DC, I had my local Bethesda cigar spot around the place from when my wife was going to the Uniform Service University of Health Sciences, where she got her doctorate.
Mm.
When she was going there, we lived in Bethesda, and I would just walk around the corner and go to my spot. I just went and hung out. I would buy a cigar, but I wouldn't smoke the cigar I bought because I wanted to age it to my liking. And I'll bring a cigar, either one I bought elsewhere or one I smoked, because a lot of the even good ones won't charge you to come in. So you kind of help them pay their rent. You're always going to want to buy a cigar.
Right.
It's just kind of etiquette thing, even if you're not going to smoke it there.
Right.
Sometimes I would buy a cigar and give it to the dude that's working there just to smoke the cigar I brought with me. It's just kind of a etiquette thing. But that place is just like, I saw the same dudes every week. And that's where I did Air Command and Staff College through correspondence was in that cigar lounge.
No kidding.
So, and that was during my every week time. So Saturday, sometime during the day, I was going to knock out a paper or a module, and I'll be sitting there writing the paper and kind of chatting with them. And then I can't remember the name of the place, and it doesn't matter because they've since closed. But it was heading down Wisconsin Avenue, heading towards DC, right when Bethesda became Washington DC, and it was on the top floor of a nice building. I mean, they had bottles of wine across the wall, like just all the fabrics and all the things you would imagine in some place that's fancy.
Wow.
They had really good whiskeys and really good whiskey selection, and cigar selection was okay. Melissa and I usually would bring our cigar and we would pay for drinks. That was our etiquette there. We paid for the drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or got a bottle of wine or something like that. And it would just be sitting in the couch. And again, you just don't know who you're going to sit next to. And you just wind up having beautiful discussions and interactions with people, or you invite friends and have that with them. And we would dress up when we went to that one. The other two places.
Makes you feel fancy and stuff, you know?
Yeah. The other two places we went was what we had on. So.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, it just sounds like a welcoming environment, you know, not much different again than a coffee shop. You know, people getting some work done in some occasions, and some places are fancier than others, and it's just kind of very chill vibe and very relaxing. Now, last thing I want to go ahead.
No, I'm not going to blame the cigar. This is me. I'm talking too much. It went out.
We got to make sure, you know, because I mean, my man is sitting outside enjoying a cigar in the great state of Texas as well. So, and I hear birds chirping in the background, and, you know, I'm up on the top floor of my house trying to stay warm, you know, so, you know, the wind is probably blowing out there. So we got to make sure we attribute it to the wind. So with that cigar, it reminds me of the last kind of piece of information I want to kind of gather from you. Maintaining them, because you've got 500 plus cigars. You know, how do you, again, people out here who may be interested in, you know, maybe buying a few, you know, you've got the portable cases like the Herfordors, and as you can see, I've got my custom humidor sitting behind me. What is the best way to maintain these cigars, and what kind of humidity levels should we try to stay with?
Okay, so let's start off with what you maintain, and then we'll talk about the humidity, because the humidity will be based upon your preference, but what you maintain them in. It's going to depend on your living circumstance. You and I, we move every year to 2 to 3. You can't really get too comfortable. So I used to have a lot of the custom humidors that you have behind you, and I still have a couple that are really good made, and I'll throw cigars in them from time to time because that cedar is really good for the cigar. So I'll rotate the ones I think I'm going to smoke in the coming period of time into there, then pull them out of there and smoke them. But it's not necessary. That travel one you showed me, I have them as big as holding 75 to 100 cigars.
Wow.
And that's what I use because they're tough. The cigars don't move around. So they have foam padding. And then I just throw some cedar from out of cigar boxes in there. So that way I have the cedar to help regulate the humidity. It's just another regulation factor. The downfall of those is they don't breathe air. So you do have to open them every so often to get circulation of air. Like when I say every so often, if you open them once a month, I think you're good to go. I don't open mine any more than that. What do you humidify them with? There's a lot of different products. You and I are busy. So I may have, I spent a little bit more money to get easy. And again, I advertise them, but it works for me. Bovita packs. They're these little paper packs that you can buy at your preferred humidity level, 60, 65, 70, 75. They sell 80, but your cigar is not meant to be that high. That's when you're going to season your traditional humidor. So you throw that in there and it brings up the humidity of the cedar. Then you pull it out and put your preferred. So I use the Brevita packs personally because I can control the humidity. And then I picked the one I want. I mentioned 65 for me because 65, with it being airtight, is going to hover between 65 and 70. And with the pace I smoke, you see I hadn't taken a puff in a while.
Right.
It's going to stay lit
Yeah.
at that humidity. So it's kind of a preference thing. There's so many different products. There's large cabinets. Like if I wasn't moving, I may have a cigar closet with a controlling electronic system that you fill with distilled water, and it does it. But for a traveling person like me, I have about 6 of those larger ones. Mm-hmm. And then when it's time to move, I throw them in my trunk and move to the next place and keep it moving. I deployed with them even.
Wow.
When I was in Qatar. That's how I had at the time. I brought like 200 cigars with me to Qatar when I spent a year there. Travel Pelican case looking humidors.
Easy money. See, it's always a way to do things. And at some point, when you decide that you are ready to retire and you've worked long enough and you settle down, I would imagine you're going to have that custom made humidor in your house and you're going to be able to just walk into this room and everything's going to be great. I'm going to tell you, man, you have educated me. I know that the folks that are listening and watching probably have been educated as well. They've learned the art of cigar smoking, but more importantly, how to do it safely and to maintain your health at the same time. And at this point, I want to kind of wrap up with my what is your preference round? This is season 2. For those that have seen this, what is your preference round in season 1? I have changed the questions, so you are the second person to get to answer these questions, and it's kind of a fun way to just kind of wrap it up as you sit and smoke your cigar. So are you ready for the fast round?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Question number 1, commonly debated topic when it comes to pizza. Fruit or no fruit?
Whatever flicks a person's dick.
And think pineapples.
Yeah. I'm good with pineapples. I kind of pineapples go with the ham for the Hawaiian pizza, and I don't eat pork anymore, so I don't do the pineapples. But when I was doing it worked, right?
Okay.
So or red meat. So I'm not against it. I just currently don't do it.
Gotcha.
Because it doesn't match with anything I eat. But yeah. I can do Hawaiian pizza. It's okay.
He can rock with the Hawaiian pizza. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah. I rock with it too. So this next question, I want to highlight your shirt real quick first. I see it says Cincinnati, and what's the rest of it say?
Invented hustle.
Cincinnati invented hustle. So keep that in mind when I ask you this next question. When it comes to the basketball greats, are you a Michael Jordan person or are you a LeBron person?
Shoot. It comes down to the personality for me. And one of the things I know, I really wish LeBron wouldn't have changed teams. I do wish that. And it's not basketball per se by itself, but the way he's brought his family along with him and helped them be the best version of them, I can't help but appreciate that. And on the court, he's utterly dominant, right? So I have to go with LeBron James because the whole person, the way his kids, the way he treats his daughter and his wife, like I can't not see all of that. But I did grow up in the '90s and get to see the magic of Michael Jordan. I wish I wish it wasn't either or, and I can just give both of them their role.
There you go.
Because
I know
they're both are utterly great. But if you were gonna hold a gun to my head, I would say King James.
Okay. I like the way you answered that one. That was actually a pretty good analogy because we had to look honestly outside of basketball. LeBron's he stimulates the economy just by being LeBron. So anyway, I'm not going to give my preference. I'm not being questioned, so I won't even worry about it. So I know how studious you are too. You're a very studious man. When it comes to reading, do you prefer audiobooks or paperback?
I prefer to have the time to sit down and read a book and highlight and underline.
Okay.
A lot of my books are actually digital. I'm a big Kindle fan, but again, it gives me that tactile feeling of seeing it. But I listen to more audiobooks than I read based upon I can consume more literature while driving to work. But my preference is I just like a book on a bookshelf. It's completed, it's put there, and I can see it and I can share it a little easier than you can share your Audible files or so on and so forth.
Okay, I dig it. I dig it. As you guys are probably starting to see how well-rounded this gentleman is right here. So now we're going to talk about the gym. What's your preference, leg day or arm day?
You know, uh, I like to bring the guns to the beach, but uh, your core is where the strength come from. If you don't have those legs together, you can't do the other stuff. So you gotta do the hard stuff first. So um, uh, my favorite day is arms day because I enjoy it. The most meaningful day is legs day.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I
Yeah.
usually skip leg day all the time. So and it's very visible when you see me. Libations, cocktail or
Mhm.
wine.
My cocktail, does it have to be mixed or can it just be a distilled liquor?
Either or, your preference.
I prefer whiskey, um, but not just neat taste what the distiller meant to make and kind of pick it apart like with the cigar. Um, Maybe a couple drops of water. That's my preference. But I've been drinking wine, red because red wine's good for your heart. So, and I've been researching this thing about your blood type and what you should and shouldn't have. So, like my blood type, being a vegetarian is best. But if I'm gonna eat a meat, it should be seafood or at worst chicken. Same with libations. It shouldn't be a distilled liquor of any sort. If I'm going to drink it, it should be wine. So I have been drinking a little bit more wine
Okay.
with my dinner, or if I have something during the week. But I really prefer whiskey. Like
Okay.
really, really prefer. Me and your other guests have that in common. So yeah.
I have been kind of leaning more towards the wine side of it, the aspect as well. Now, I will say I know your background, cyber, IT, communications. In addition to that, you and I both have been able to kind of be on both sides of a generational change when it comes to communication. We've seen both, we've experienced both. So, do you prefer texting or someone to actually pick up the phone and call you?
My hands are big. No matter what the buttons are on the phone, it's inconvenient to text. Now, and even when I do text, I would say 7 times out of 10, unless it's a 3-word text, I probably spoke to the phone. I prefer a conversation. There's less miss nuance. There's less miss things. I can hear what you meant when you said what you meant.
The
I'm
tone in your
sarcastic.
voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sarcastic. So even with me, you need to see my face to see I'm smiling at you when I'm saying the thing I'm saying.
Right.
So
Right.
I prefer. I am. I forgot what they call this generation YX, something like that, where we're like in the middle. But my father was older when he had me. My father was 40 when he had me. So my father was definitely the previous generation, and I picked a lot of my preferences from him. So I
Okay.
prefer. I'm very clear. I prefer picking up the phone.
Okay. Okay. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Now,
Yeah.
traveling. You're a traveling man. You're well traveled. You've
Mhm.
seen the world. Would you prefer to take a road trip or hop on somebody's plane?
Man, I keep on giving you a bunch of depends questions, and I promise I'm not this. Well, I am this annoying. Let's not act like I am. I am not. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. My mom lives about 16 hours, 18 hours away. I'm not gonna drive to see her. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the beauty of a quick trip up to Austin and go grab some meat, something to eat with my wife,
Sure.
and kind of stay in a hotel. So I enjoy driving too. I love driving. So, but for any real distance, I am flying for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I concur with you on that one. I'm not a driving type of person. Now, attire. Despite the fact that you're wearing one right now, are you a t-shirt guy or are you a polo guy?
It's changed over the years. I'm straight t-shirt guy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Straight t-shirt and jeans. Yeah. I don't know. It's just the comfort. I think of dudes like Steve Jobs or even a lot of the tech giants. In my mind, I've never done it. I like the fact that they wear the same thing every day because it really doesn't matter. Anything that takes your brain power away from the thing that matters most to you is a waste of processing.
Less
It
time to
can be.
think.
I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You don't have
shouldn't.
to think as
I'm not
much.
being absolute. Yeah, I'm not trying to be absolute. So over the years, I like to be clean and I like for it to, the fit and all that good stuff. But the easier, the better for me. You will
I
see
got
me
you.
in a t-shirt 8 times out of 10. But when I have to represent myself and others, I'll throw on a polo or a button-down shirt or a suit or whatever is required. But if I run my company, when I retire, it'll be t-shirts unless I got a meeting. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Now, heroes. Are you a Superman person or Iron Man person? If you had to choose between the two.
Shoot. Can I just say Black Panther? Superman. Here's why. My mom would tell you I always wanted to fly, and people would think I wanted to be a pilot. No, I never wanted to be a pilot. I wanted my body to leave the ground and fly. I just something about that if I can do it, and I know Iron Man can do it.
Yeah.
But Iron Man is not his essence. So in my
It's
mind,
it's man-made. It's technology driven.
Yeah. In my mind, when I wanted to fly, it was more like an eagle flies, less like a flying in an airplane. So comparing the two, I got to go Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last but not least, music. Vinyl or digital? And specifically vinyl. Vinyl or digital?
So I got a couple things from my father that I cherish when he passed more than anything. My wife, she knows, like she's on it. Like when it comes time to pack it, come time to take care of it, come time to make sure it's displayed in the meaningful space in our house, it's his records. And there's nothing like the crackle and the pop and the gritty sound you get out of a record. I even still buy records to this day. Like one of my favorite artists is her, and she releases stuff on vinyl. I'll go pay the exorbitant amount to get her vinyl because vinyl's not cheap anymore.
Right.
Just I want to hear her beautiful voice in that format and just kind of just enjoy that ambiance. So vinyl.
Nice. Thank you for playing along.
Yeah.
I have my own record player too, and I prefer me some vinyl music from time to time as well. So listen, here's an opportunity for you to just kind of close us out. Anything you want to leave with the listeners with regard to cigars, life, leadership, whatever it is. What kind of final message you want to leave with them?
I'll go to what kept me smoking cigars. It's just a passion of finding new knowledge and finding something and wanting to understand it. And just really dig into it. That is, for me, that's fun to find knowledge in things and try to get better at them, getting better every day. But what I enjoy most about it and what it's provided me the opportunity to do, as well as my career, as well as friendships, is to share it with others and to help make them the best version of them every day. So that's that, learn every day and learn and get better. But when you're getting better, make others better. Cigars allow me to do that. It's one of the ways God's blessed me to have an opportunity to have conversations with people. And it's all about just making us the best us we can be. So that's a mixture of cigars and my leadership philosophy.
I love it. I love that. I appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did, spending some time with Q Everage to talk about one of my favorite subject of cigars. Hopefully you learned that this is something that you can do in moderation, do it smartly, make sure you keep your health in mind. So Q, thanks for taking some time to spend with us and sharing your knowledge. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.
Thanks, man.